Fraser versus Bethel School District, Free Speech Limits in U.S. Public Education. Introduction. The court affirmed the students' claim, holding that students are entitled to constitutional protection as citizens. The student received damages from the U.S. District Court totaling approximately $13,000. Unhappy with the ruling, the school filed an appeal with the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which upheld the initial sentence. The Supreme Court was urged to hear the case by the Bethel School District. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the institution by a margin of 7-2. In his ruling, the Chief Justice clarified his strong views on the role moral values formation should play in society's educational system. The two disagreed justices had concluded that Fraser's school had no basis for its arguments. Linking the legal concepts of the case to how they have impacted institutional learning and decision-making is crucial. Holding. The First Amendment did not bar the school district from punishing the respondent. The institution has the power to forbid the use of obscene and insulting language in front of students at a public school. In situations like this, where intentionally using offensively obscene speech is not protected by the First Amendment, it is up to the states and school boards of the district to assess the propriety of free speech and implement proportionate sanctions. Additionally, the school has the authority to take disciplinary measures for disruptive or unforeseen conduct offenses that may impair learning. Facts. Procedural history. The student's father, Fraser's guardian, has filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court alleging that the First Amendment and the freedom of speech rights were violated. The school was deemed to have violated free speech rights and had a conduct code that was unconstitutionally vague by the district court. Similar to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the school district's allegations of interruption of the educational process and protection of children from coarse language were rejected. Law. The First Amendment's protection of free speech does not allow total freedom of expression. Obscenity and communication required for illegal behavior are two examples of expression types or categories for which the First Amendment offers little protection. Free speech that depicts or discusses impermissible sexual behavior is not protected under Miller v. California, and is assessed in the context of existing social norms. It was determined that the First Amendment should have limitations on sexually explicit communication in public settings to protect kids from exposure to coarse language in the cases of FCC v. Pacifica Foundation and Ginsburg v. New York. Analysis. Although school authorities should encourage the expression of all opinions, including those that are controversial, the school board ultimately has the power to decide which speech is acceptable and to safeguard students who might be offended by particular foul language. A learning environment, for instance, might affect someone's psychological behavior because pupils benefit from one another's knowledge. As a result, having a legal system based on an institution is essential for managing undesirable behavior. Most educational institutions forbid the use of absurd language because it harms others. The court should be a crucial player in helping institutions uphold and keep conformance standards in line with specifications. Schools have the right to choose the appropriate ways of communication to accomplish their goals and safeguard the interests of pupils. The case impacts the educational field as institutions use the idea for greater functionality. It is possible that learners will not know if language is appropriate or offensive. As a result, the institution is responsible for advising students on which languages are suitable for use in the classroom. According to psychology, learning institutions mold essential social values and practices in youngsters. As a result, understanding the Bethel District School case can assist many people in comprehending why various institutions set restrictions to instruct children on proper behavior. The right to freedom in a school setting must be balanced with appropriate standards, considering the presence of other pupils in the facility. Public school education aims to prevent the use of vulgar language in classrooms. Educational institutions must enforce rules that forbid obscenity to safeguard their young students. Given that young students were in the school, Fraser's use of sexual innuendo in his lecture was offensive. Everyone is given a heads-up by the rules that forbid profanity from being used by students or professors. The school has the right to punish him because it believes that he was warned before making his speech. People learn how to be good citizens through education, which gives them the power to discipline students who lack respect for school rules. Conclusion. The need for educational institutions to create policies that limit profane language is justified by their need to do so. Learning and its potential psychological effects on students are closely related. Therefore, by suspending the student, the school did not go against the First Amendment's guarantee of freedom of speech. Fraser was warned that using foul language would be against school policy, but he did so in his assembly speech. The First Amendment in educational settings, where the school can shield minors from indecent speech, do not protect this kind of speech. The Supreme Court has overturned earlier rulings and supported the school district's ability to pursue disciplinary measures. Fraser v. Bethel School District was a significant Supreme Court case. It has been established that students should use caution when speaking in class to avoid obstructing instruction. This choice might not have been made if Fraser had not used derogatory words. It established a precedent for subsequent Supreme Court issues involving the First and 14th Amendments.